Everybody, welcome into the Proline TV Eastern Conference play-in preview and playoff snapshot, because we're not quite to the playoffs just yet. A couple of teams have to still sneak in to seeds 7 and 8 in the East and become the playoff opponents to the defending champion Boston Celtics and your Eastern Conference regular season juggernaut, the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so we will look at the games that will decide those matters and talk a little bit about the two matchups that have been decided, the Knicks and Pistons and the Pacers and Bucks. I'm joined by Jim Feist of Proline TV and a host of other websites. Jim Feist, what is it, jimfeist.com?
Yes.
Andy Iskoe of thelogicalapproach.com. And we are going to talk all about the Eastern Conference. And first, we'll let you know that the Western Conference will be set on a separate video, so you can watch them back to back. You can watch the West first if you want to watch the West first and get spoilers there. But we will go chronologically with the East, since that will give us our first postseason game. And it's weird because I'm an NBA guy, so you have to use the vernacular correctly. These are postseason games, but they're not playoff games yet. And the stats don't count for anything. They automatically get destroyed. And so the first postseason matchup is the Orlando Magic.
Which, by the way, is stupid.
That is what it is.
I mean, it's like they don't exist.
It is what it is.
I'll tell you what, if you're betting these games, they exist as you go forward. Absolutely.
It is what it is, and what it is stupid, but we digress. Yeah. The Orlando Magic host the Atlanta Hawks in the 7 and 8 game, and the 9-10 game to follow on Wednesday will be the Bulls hosting the Heat. And this is smart. This part is smart on the NBA's part. You've got you give the 7-8 loser every possible advantage to beat the 9-10 winner on Friday, because you have them at home and you give them an extra day's rest. But
by the way, is there a reason they didn't do 7 versus 10, 8 versus 9?
Because they don't like it. Because that doesn't do much for I guess the 7-8 should be an automatic play-in, and then that becomes your 7 seed, regardless of who it is. And then the 8 seed is the lone survivor. That's it. And that's actually come into play because the Miami Heat were the 7th best team in the Eastern Conference in 23 and ended up the 8th seed because they lost their first game and rode that to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, see, so, it takes away from the fact that the 7 and the 8 theoretically should have the advantage of being able to make it in, but why have them meet in the first, in the first game instead of 7, 10, 8, 9, where both teams have an advantage, both teams play at home.
Right, but bottom line is I like this system. This system is an improvement to me, because we have the 10 teams, and that keeps the regular season more interesting than it otherwise would have been, as we found out. This past weekend.
Keeps 4 mediocre teams from tanking.
Right. Well, it does, and that then means that there are more meaningful games. And I mean, look, it's not a perfect system, but it is what it is. And then the other thing that it does is it generates a situation where at this point they've had to wrestle with things like, a divisional champ has to be top 4. No, they don't. Yeah. And thank goodness for that, because the Magic are the first division winner without a winning record in history. Since the NBA merger, and so all these instances occur because they kind of tinker to get things right. So here we are.
No, they tinker things to get more money.
It's all about money. I'm not going to begrudge them for that. We've got the Hawks.
At least let them admit it. Nobody, I don't think anybody would really be upset about if they're trying to hide what the real reason is. Nobody
I don't think anybody's hiding it.
To get money.
I think it's the same reason. If you've got 2 brain cells, you know why the NFL is scheduling games on Christmas and whatnot. I mean, it is what it is. Let's get into it.
You only need 1 brain cell for that.
Hawks and Magic. Winner is the 7th seed. That's Tuesday. First spread on that game is the Hawks are 5.5 point underdogs in Orlando. These two teams have played twice over the past week, and the Magic took all intrigue out of the second matchup by winning the first. So from that standpoint, the lone meaningful game that we've seen between these two teams of late. Orlando won and thrived. And I know you guys were talking totals on this game and the correlation between what you like. I'm going to deviate from that simply because the Orlando Magic won the game that basically decided the Southeast Division, scoring a bunch of points. And there's been instances down the stretch where they haven't been able to stop anybody because the Orlando Magic, being an elite defensive team, ended with Jalen Suggs being injured. Because Jalen Suggs is one of the top defensive guards in the entire league, and he is out. And so they've had to win games in a different manner with Banchero and Franz Wagner really being offensive players. So actually, style-wise, this might trend to the over. I see 216.5s and 217s. Again, Orlando will have the home court advantage. Anything that stands out to you? We'll start with you, Andy.
Well, the comment I had made to you before was it figured that if you liked Atlanta, you probably prefer a high-scoring series. If you like Orlando, you probably prefer a low-scoring series. It does seem surprising that Orlando is that big of a favorite, not considering the result that you pointed to before. Not sure yet what I'm going to do, if anything, in this series. I normally like to go with
it's a one game. So,
yeah, that series. I meant in the game. Yeah, and I'm talking about the whole series of these. What did you say they're called? Non-playoff play-in games or whatever. But
they're play-ins.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm going to have much interest in the Eastern Conference as much as I will in the Western Conference. So I'll probably take a pass on this. I suppose if I had to do something, I'd probably I might look for Atlanta on the money line on this one.
Very good. The Magic won the game I was referring to on April 8th, 119 to 112. And again, they set a blistering pace. They were 5.5-point favorites in that game. And that
What was the total?
225 and a half.
Okay.
So that went over. The Magic have actually gone over in 4 of their last 5 games and 7 out of their last 10. So again, they do have the statistically best defensive points total in the NBA, but a lot of that is based on what they did earlier in the season. And earlier in the season, they lost both Banchero and Franz Wagner to the same injury at different times. Over the last few games, Orlando has been more of a high-scoring team. Outside of the one game they won 96-76 against the Celtics, who weren't playing anybody. They had 129 points against the Pacers on April 11th, despite Banchero and Wagner sitting. So the bench kind of got loose there. But again, I mean, this is a different Magic team without Suggs than with him. And so, Jim, what do you got on the Hawks? I mean, the Hawks being serious contenders to do anything in the East probably ended when Jalen Johnson got hurt. He was having a fabulous season. But this is invaluable experience for a kid like Zachary Arisa-Shea, the reigning #1 overall pick, who will not be the Rookie of the Year, by the way. That will be Stephon Castle of the Spurs. But what we do have is a situation where we'll even see what Trae Young does and how this affects Trae Young's status in the offseason, considering we could very well see him move.
Well, neither one of these teams inspire much from me. I would like the under in this game if those players were healthy, number one. And I could actually lean to the under on the opening line, but there's been a lot of money on all 4 of these games, Tuesday and Wednesday, on the under. And the theory from the sharps that are making these bets, and I've spoken to some of them, is that these games are more meaningful. Of course, regular season, a lot of these guys don't care much, but these are more meaningful games. It's a one and done situation, and they're going to control the pace as much as they can, be a little bit more cautious with the ball, a little less turnovers. They're betting at them under, and they're moving them. I mean, one game moved 8 points.
Jim, I have a question for you on that, and that is, we all know that, and I'm wondering if the lines makers didn't take that into consideration when they said. In other words, maybe they would have set the Orlando game at 224, and they said, no, it's going to play under. It's a defensive game. It's an elimination game. Well, it's not really an elimination game, but The total should be 224. Let's make it 219.5.
And then
And now they're taking it down lower.
Now it's down to 260.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That maybe the lines maker, in setting the 219.5 or whatever, already took into account a 3 to 5.
They did, but then the players came in and even said that isn't enough of an adjustment.
So on general principle, Jim, you cannot bet the under anymore.
No, I cannot. No.
All right, very good, very good. What about you on Andy? What do you say on that?
Yeah, I didn't have much of an opinion other than I felt that initially, if you go with the history of these teams, notwithstanding the injuries and the exceptions, that if you like Atlanta, you probably like a high-scoring game. If you like Orlando, you probably like a low-scoring game. I said I don't sure if I'm going to do anything, but I might take Atlanta on the money line.
Very good. I think then I'm in agreement that if you feel like the line has moved to where you can't bet the under, you look at the over simply because a lot of these numbers are based on Magic, the Orlando Magic team from games 1 through game 60. And the other issue that I would
that's the question. Do we know that it's based upon just those?
Yeah, because
the games.
That's where the bulk of the Magic being the best defensive team in the league is based on. I mean, Jalen Suggs changes so much.
No, I'm saying, but have you got the numbers on that breakdown? First 60 versus final 22. Do the numbers bear that out, and to what extent? In other words, a 2-point difference versus an 8-point difference.
The defensive scoring average has increased significantly. Yeah. But look, my other point on that is that I am both an NBA person and a sharp bettor, and my rationale for the most meaningful game on Sunday, the Golden State Warriors and the LA Clippers, winner gets the a top 6 seed. The loser has to keep playing. The total was bet down originally from its original number. It looked at pretty good at 219 coming into the after the third quarter, because it was still like 160-ish. And then in the fourth quarter, both teams couldn't miss, and the game went well over before going into overtime. So again, I understand that all of us who are sharp bettors in meaningful basketball games, the gospel is bet the under.
Look under.
But just from that standpoint, it's not a foolproof system, is what I'm trying to say.
I would like to add this. If the games are going to be played as lower scoring games, and that's what the odds makers and the odds makers said by making the line less to begin with, and then the bettors came in and said it's not even low enough, that makes the point spread more valuable to the underdog. Because if there's going to be less opportunities to score, each point then becomes more valuable to the dog. So 5 then becomes maybe 4.75 or 4.50, and in reality, because you're lowering the number of possessions. So I'm not betting this game. I would have bet it under. I missed the number. I didn't get it. And so I'm not going to bet it. But that's a basic theory, is if you're going to lower the score enough, then the point spread becomes a little too high, and you might start seeing underdog money. However, every number I look at is 5 minus 15. Minus, so
right.
There's actually money leaning to higher numbers.
Yeah.
So
favorite and under, which is a weird combination in many instances.
I'm sorry, Andy?
I say favorite and under is what the money is showing.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is an unusual combination for most
Is.
situations.
Yes, it is.
But to your point, +5 is much more meaningful when the total is 215 than if it's 235.
Correct.
To wrap up this 7-8 matchup, the Magic went 22-19 at home, and the Hawks went 19-22 on the road. But Trae Young does love playing villain on the road. For both of you guys, if the winner plays the Boston Celtics, does this sway you either way as to who plays the Celtics? Do you care?
I don't know. Celtics are going to drill either one of them.
And the Cavs might do the same. And the Cavs might do the same thing to whoever finishes 8.
Yeah, well, and we'll talk about that one. But all right, so this one doesn't sway you as to
No.
the Celtics. Maybe either the Hawks because of Trae Young and his playoff pedigree,
If
or the
I
Magic.
can win in one game, let's say the game on Tuesday, and I'm in the playoffs, I will worry about having to win 2 games and possibly face the quote unquote weaker team.
Interesting. All right, very good. Let's
Get
go.
in the playoffs.
Let's go to that matchup where the winner will ultimately have a shot at playing the Cavaliers, and that's the Heat and the Bulls. They are playing for the second Wednesday in a row, and it was very meaningful that Miami, as a 1 to 1.5 point underdog, road favorite, lost. Josh Giddey with probably his best game of his pro career, had a triple-double. Chicago won going away. Miami blew another lead. That's been an epidemic for them all season. And now the Heat go to Chicago as a 1.5 point underdog. But I'll lay it out there like that. Initial thoughts, Jim.
Well, this is one game where the total didn't move. It's 220, 219. It's really and the point spread is 1.5. Chicago. Not a game. I'm in not every game that comes up on the board I'm going to be excited about betting.
So this doesn't sway you either way?
Well, just based on the theory that I might look at the under in this game because it hasn't moved, and I'm not getting the worst of the number.
All right. What about you, Andy? What you got?
What have these teams done this season against each other? And more specifically, and I don't have it in front of me, the record of Miami since the Jimmy Butler fiasco.
Well, look, the Heat have been much better without Jimmy Butler, except for the fact that they lost 10 games in a row for the first time since 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And that was the longest losing streak of the Eric Spoelstra era. But they lost some really tight games in that. They also lost some god-awful games. And they did not have Andrew Wiggins for some of those games. Then Wiggins came back. Wiggins has actually looked good. And one reason why, if you like the Heat here as a road dog, I wouldn't talk you off it, is because in last Wednesday's game, Wiggins was coming back off a lengthy layoff due to a hamstring issue. And I mean, he was okay, but didn't really look like they envisioned him looking. And he was sharp. He had a 40-point game prior to his injury. Bam Adebayo has looked really good. He had a really slow start, and he caught a lot of flack for not being immediately Jimmy Butler's replacement as the go-to guy in Miami. Kind of worked his way into that, shared it with Tyler Hero. Hero has been good. He took a lot of flack for, in that game, coming up with a steal with his team down 5 and not taking a layup, but rather pulling up for a three-pointer that would have made it a 2-point game, but obviously is a bad shot, even at the YMCA level. So really interesting game there. The Heat, to answer your question,
What I was going to say there.
The Bulls have beaten the Heat. The Bulls have beaten the Heat in the season series.
Okay, what was it? 3-1?
Believe so.
Okay. I might lean to Miami for a couple of reasons. Number one, the playoff experience edge that they have. Number two, the fact that despite Miami's losing streak and the entire Jimmy Butler situation, etc., they only finished with a record 2 games worse than that of the Chicago Bulls. So that tells me Miami, all things being equal throughout the course of the season, Miami theoretically was the better basketball team, and I'd rather go on that and their experience in what is effectively a 1-game elimination.
Yeah, this is a winner goes home. A loser goes home game. Winner stays alive. The over has come in the last 5 Miami Heat games, including their matchup with the Bulls. The Bulls have been playing really good basketball too, in terms of what they compared to what they were playing earlier in the year. So Billy Donovan has actually lost both Lonzo Ball and Ayo Dosunmu to his better reserve guards and gotten improved play from Giddey and Kobe White, who really scored a lot down the stretch. In fact, the Bulls come in winners of 6 of 7 outright, and the over is 3-2 over their last 5 games. And the last 2 of those games, you can probably flush them down the toilet because they were against the Wizards and the 76ers.
I do.
Tony, do you have some strong leans in any of these 4 games?
I like the Heat, and I am I was intrigued by the fact that odds makers have switched their tune around, because I would have made the Bulls a favorite in the key regular season meeting. That was game 80, because in that game, if the Heat had won that game, this game would probably be being played in Miami. The Bulls won that game, so it's being played in Chicago. In fact, the Heat had an opportunity to move up to 8, depending on how the Hawks finished, but lost. And again, it was getting Wiggins back. Duncan Robinson's been in and out of the lineup. I like the Heat in this contest. I weigh the fact that Wiggins will be better. Josh Giddey won't be as great. I mean, Josh Giddey was incredible in that contest. Hero is pretty solid and has been. Same with Adebayo. Vucevic doesn't play much defense. So I lead towards the Heat and the over in this matchup. I'll ask you the same question I did for the Celtics series. Is there a preference if either of these teams are able to win 2 games? By the way, no number 10 seed has. Do you give either of these teams a shot at the Chicago Bulls, especially since the Miami Heat have a history of, albeit with Jimmy Butler, of being a play-in to NBA finalist in their recent history?
I don't give either of these teams a chance, realistic chance, to beat Boston or Cleveland.
Well, it'll be Cleveland.
Oh, okay, Cleveland. Yeah, okay, yeah, Cleveland. Yeah.
Jim?
I really don't have an opinion in the game.
No, not in the game. I'm saying does either of these teams move the needle to say test the Cleveland Cavaliers to see something out of Cleveland before they move forward? As a tougher challenge.
Unless the Cavs are asleep at the wheel, which always can happen, but it's very rare. These teams don't match up. Cleveland's a good team. They've been solid all year, just like OKC has, just like Boston has. These are good. They're very well coached teams that have played well all season long. And yes, they may not get really excited about any of these matchups, but shit happens. And if they come in focused, the games aren't close.
All right. Well, then by that rationale,
I can't see either of the first round series involving the 1s and the 2s going the distance.
By that rationale, now I have trapped you into my next question, which is the Boston Celtics are a minus 145 favorite at DraftKings to win the Eastern Conference. The Cavaliers are plus 225. You've both just divulged that who they play in the first round doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So do you like either of these prices right now for either team?
Obviously, I like Cleveland.
You like Cleveland plus 225 right now?
Sure.
Okay. What about you, Jim? Or would you rather wait?
Yeah, but I like Cleveland at that plus price. Yes, I do.
What do you guys think this price does once we see their first round matchup? So say games 1 and 2 are in Cleveland against the Miami Heat, and they've won both games. So now you're going to South Florida.
I can't see the series price for Boston or Cleveland changing from what it is now, regardless of who they play.
No, because they're supposed to win, and unless they win by 30 points per game, you're not going to see anything.
For our viewers, you're saying that if you want to ride the Cleveland Cavaliers plus 225, you might as well do it now.
Exactly.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter. Well, I suppose there could be a 5-cent adjustment if the winner of the play-in looks really, really sharp in those play-in games. Maybe there'll be an instantaneous reaction on putting a little something on, those people who like to play long shots, from a psychological standpoint. But realistically, I would not, even with 2 blowout wins or 1 blowout win, depending upon who plays who, that you would see much of a change, if any change.
Before we go,
it's an expected outcome, and if form holds, you're not going to get, like on Justin Rose, you're not going to get 130-1 now that he went into the playoffs to win the tournament. So it's the same kind of thing. Unless there's some kind of aberrational outcome in the matchup with Chicago or Miami, you're going to see the same price.
All right, here's the other thing then, what you guys didn't cover because you both like the Cavs. As far as the Celtics, I would not go the chalky minus 145 route right now because there is genuine concern that Jaylen Brown is not going to be right. Now, you may think the Celtics can go ahead and win the Eastern Conference without Jaylen Brown, and that's a debate to be had on another show at another time. But the fact is, if we see Jaylen Brown either miss the first few games against, be it the Magic or the Hawks, or absolutely not look right and be shelved for a series, I think the Celtics would then become available at plus money without the reigning Eastern Conference Finals and NBA Finals MVP. So green light on the Cavs based on what these two gentlemen have said. Absolute red line on the Boston Celtics as your Eastern Conference winner right out of the gate.
Let me ask you this. Other than the Celtics, who else do you think could take down the Cavs?
The Milwaukee Bucks, and we're going to segue to that because what I was going to ask you is,
gentlemen, I'm going to have to leave in about 10 minutes just to.
Okay, so we'll have you chime in on the East, and me and Jim will do the Western Conference video that will also be available on Proline TV. But
I'll give you some quick thoughts at the end of this one if you want, or in between shows if you want.
In between shows, because this is East only. So Knicks, Pacers, Bucks, Pistons. We'll break down those series here in a bit briefly, but Knicks plus 850, Pacers plus 2,200, Bucks plus 3,500, Pistons plus 15,000 to win the East. Any of those, Jim
Bucks.
And Andy?
Milwaukee.
You like Milwaukee, Andy? I'm in that boat too. Give me your thoughts.
I just think the experience, returning to health as much as they possibly can. I still, I don't expect them to win, but I think the price is a little bit too high on them to not win. That it's worth taking a shot because they certainly have one of the best players in the game who can carry this team and has carried this team in the past.
Jim, do you like any of those other teams? Knicks,
well,
Pacers,
the Bucks are obvious. I mean, that's the team that could rise up and do a lot of damage.
What'd you say, Tony? 35-1?
35-1.
Yeah,
that's a little. That's pretty high. I mean,
compared to win the East, to go ahead and win it all, which you might as well take a flyer on if you're taking them to win the East, at least the pizza money. It is 110-1.
What's their price over the Pacers?
Well, that's a series market, and we're about to talk that. In fact, let's just segue.
Well, I mean, just to give an example of how
the 4-5 series is the Pacers and the Bucks, and that will start in Indiana because
that's about 2-1, isn't it, on Indiana?
The Pacers are minus 190 as a series favorite. Bucks are plus 150, 155.
I'll be on Milwaukee.
So yeah, and from that standpoint, obviously you would be, but. And the domino that has not dropped is Damian Lillard being cleared. Everybody anticipates this will happen this week, but he's been out for the past few weeks due to a thrombosis issue, the same one that shelved Victor Wembanyama, although Wembanyama's was in his arm. This one, I believe, is in Lillard's thigh, but it's something that they were optimistic about even at that time, and it sounds like he's been practicing and going through the motions, and he will be good to go. Now, we'll obviously want to see what they look like in game one. I think that's a lengthy series to come between the Pacers and Bucks. And you're talking about an Indiana team that has confidence that they can beat anybody in a series because they went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
190 is a serious number. I mean, that's a big number. So, I mean, that you can't turn your back on and say that's that easy for the Bucks to get out of there.
No, but at the same time, I mean, it's deemed to be the most competitive of the 4 Eastern Conference series, and I think you'll probably see that number come down once Lillard is officially cleared.
That's true.
That's just my guess.
Yes.
So I'd go out and play Milwaukee today.
Jim is very confident that Damian Lillard will come back without missing a beat, which you have to be to make these type of bets. And I'm in total agreement with you.
Even if he's in a minor role in the first game, maybe Milwaukee says if we don't need him to play that many minutes and we can win that first game, then maybe what's the length of the series? This is a best of 5?
No, these are all 7.
Best of 7. These are all best of 7s. Okay. Milwaukee's goal should be to win one of the first 2 games. I usually like to bet road teams in the first two games. Usually bet them to win one of the first two games, starting with game one. If they win game one, I pass on game two. If they lose game one, I'll come back with them in game two.
The thing about the Bucks that concerns me, and again, I do like them as my sleeper in the East. If it's not going to be the Cavs or the Celtics, so my play would be the Bucks. Is that you've got a lot of moving parts in terms of pieces that haven't been there. Kyle Kuzma just got it added. Yeah. Kevin Porter Jr. is playing a substantial role off the bench. Gary Trent Jr. had to really step up in the absence.
Don't most teams have similar type issues?
But not like this. No, the Pacers are basically intact, and they added Siakam late last season, so he's got a full year under his belt. But from a continuity standpoint, Pacers have a significant advantage over the Bucks.
That's why it's priced in. That's why it's in the price of the 190.
But at the same time, you've got Giannis, who's going to be the best player in the series by far, and Bobby Portis just came back from his 25 game suspension, looking fresh as a daisy, and that's going to really help. And again,
that could be worth an extra 3 to 5 minutes of playing time per game. That freshness.
Not to mention fresh legs at this point in time. Yeah. It's huge.
Huge.
So yeah, look, if Lillard looks good, no worse for the wear with fresher legs, certainly is going to be a team worth watching. And let's wrap up this Eastern Conference look with a glimpse at, you don't have to give me a pick, but you can if you want. The 3-6 is the Knicks and the Pistons. Pistons just won a very meaningful game over the Knicks in that even though the Knicks rested Josh Hart and OG Anunoby in that game, Jalen Brunson was back for his second game since returning from missing nearly a month. And the Knicks were really invested in that game. Kate Cunningham took their heart late and beat them and essentially said,
what's his health, Cunningham? Is he back full strength?
Oh, he's fine. He's up. Okay. There's nothing wrong with Kate Cunningham.
I'd like to give the Pistons a chance because I was on the Knicks back in January. They still have problems when they step up in class, but they're not stepping up in class here against Detroit. Detroit is playing with a lot of confidence and a lot of talent as well. I don't know that I can pull the trigger on Detroit to win the series. I'll probably play them in a number of the games individually, but I want no part of laying the huge price with the Knicks to win the series.
Jim, you got any thoughts on the Knicks and the?
Well, I would have to agree with Andy in this spot. I mean, I think you got meaningful money, the number on Detroit that you have to look at them seriously. And you're going to get some point spread value. You can take them and play them game one, and if they lose, play them game two to pick up the number. I mean, they're kind of a little bit of a zigzag issue there.
All right. Well, game one is going to be crucial there because New York at home with that crowd, if they look good and take care of business, that would be a great launching point for the Knicks. If they somehow lose, the roof would be falling.
I just need the Pistons to come within 7.
For game one. Yes, well, you do.
One.
I'm talking about the series itself. But all right, this has been the Eastern Conference snapshot of what we...
By the way, let me just follow up on that. If I'm going to take a look, which team has a better chance of winning one of the first 2 games on the road, I'd certainly say Milwaukee has a better chance of doing so against the Pacers than the Pistons do in winning 1 out of 2 against the Knicks.
All right.
Straight up, I'm talking.
We'll be talking about the Western Conference in a separate video, so keep an eye out for that. And again, I guess our prevailing theme on the East is that Andy and Jim like the Cleveland Cavaliers to win the Eastern Conference in terms of the price that they would lay right now, bet-wise.
We would take, right?
220, yeah.
Take 245, right? Yeah. Or take 225. I mean, and in the other 2 series, I think Andy and I both would be on the dog, Pistons and Bucks, taking the points in game 1, and probably if they lose, take them into game 2, but not to win the series.
All right.
Well, I'll take the Bucks to win the series, yes, but I wouldn't take the Pistons.
Appreciate you guys tuning in for Proline TV. Please like and subscribe and check out the Western Conference video as well if you haven't already. For Andy Risco and Jim Feist, I'm Tony Mejia. Thanks for watching.
What are your thoughts on the West, Andy, before you go?